Hey, Community Christian Church. Happy Friday. Good to see everybody. Hope to see you at the drive-in this Sunday at 11:30 for worship. We're looking forward to continuing on being down there for the next couple weeks. Stay tuned as there might be changes that happen coming in June in regards to what will be going on with worship. So I know it's probably been a while since a lot of people have been able to go to a movie theater, but for a long time people used to say, talking about a movie or reviewing a movie, they would say, hey, spoiler alert, before they get to certain parts because they might give away some of the plots of the movie. And so I think for most of us, hopefully this does not come to you as a spoiler alert, that whether we try to ignore it, one day, unfortunately, all of us are going to have to die. We're going to have to leave this earth. We're going to leave our loved ones. They've come up with different phrases for this to try to, I think, soften the reality. Anything from kick the bucket, 6 feet under, pushing up daisies. James chapter 4 verses 14 says, "Why do you not even know what will happen tomorrow? What is your life? You are but a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes." And so James says, this is your life. Just that's it. That's all there is to it. And so that's our whole entire life. And I know some have maybe checked before. I know certain insurance companies do this, where you can go on a website and type in all your information, some of your background, what you do for a living, all that stuff, and they come up with a death clock saying, here's how long we think you have left. And so Paul writes to a young guy named Timothy in 2 Timothy chapter 4 verse 6. This is when Paul, we believe, was near the end of his life, that he was soon going to be executed. And if you don't know, he was executed by, unfortunately, a beheading, according to church historians. And so Timothy was like his son in the faith. And he says this in chapter 4 of 2 Timothy in verse 6, "For I am already being poured out like a drink offering, and the time for my departure is near. I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, and I have kept the faith. Now there is in store for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me that day. And not only to me, but also to those who have longed for his appearing." And so Paul says he's being poured out like a drink offering, which actually is one of the least impressive offerings that you could do. One of the more cheapest ones. But it was something that you could do. And so Paul was saying, it's kind of what I think of what I've tried to do with my life. I've tried to piece together this ministry, this pastoring, this missionary journey that I've been on. I've just kind of tried to put this drink offering out there and offer it up to God, and maybe he can do something amazing with it. And I think all of us pour our life out on some altar somewhere, whether it's the altar of sports and money, grades, power, control, ego, lust. Could be money, could be popularity, could be looking pretty, could be being right. And so what is it that you might be pouring out your life, what altar you might be pouring your life out on? One of the more challenging things being in ministry is when there are times where you're asked to do a funeral for somebody you don't know. You haven't even heard of, you've got nothing. And so it can be so awkward sometimes saying, okay, hey, I don't know anything about this person. I want to say some nice things about them. Of course, you can't preach them into heaven, we believe. But hey, we can offer comfort. They might have been Christians and we still didn't know them. That's okay. And so sometimes these can be really sad discussions where you say, hey, tell me about this person. They say, oh, well, they really loved the Bengals. Okay. What else can you tell me about them? They have a really cool hat collection. All right, okay. And I mean, there's others where it's just like, hey, what can you tell me about this grandparent of yours? Well, they never missed an episode of The Young and the Restless. All right. And I mean, I hear these things and it's like, I hope to all that's holy and sacred there'll be a lot more that can be said about after I'm gone that my loved ones will be able to say something tremendously better than that. That you like sports, you had some hats, or you liked the Young and the Restless, and you knew how to decorate, or you had some nice clothes. And so sometimes it just does kind of beg that question, are we living for the mist? Are we living for just the here and now? I hope not. I hope not. Unfortunately, sometimes that's one of the easiest things to get drawn into. There was an 8-year-old who one day wanted to do an impersonation of his dad. And what he did was he just sat on the couch and opened up his laptop and started typing away. And everybody kind of sat around and laughed. They're like, yeah, Dad does do that a lot. And the dad was sitting there watching. And he's like, I don't want that to be like what I'm known for. I don't want my kids to think of that. That's all that their dad does is sits around the house and types on his computer and that's it. And he's like, man, I've got some changes I need to make because I in no way, shape, or form want that to be the impression that I leave, especially on my kids. And so when a drink offering was poured out onto a hot surface, it would be like if you had your oven on, the stovetop, and you poured out like some water or whatever, it's going to steam up and evaporate. And so that was kind of the idea there of a drink offering. And so there still could be a sweet smelling aroma with that offering. And so Paul says the time has come for my departure, or it's time to set sail from this world. And so in Philippians chapter 1, there's kind of a similar idea here where Paul again writes from prison. He says, for to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. If I am to go on living in the body, this would mean fruitful labor for me. Yet what shall I choose? I do not know. I am torn between the two. I desire to depart and to be with Christ, which is better by far, but it is more necessary for you that I remain in the body. And so it sometimes can be a struggle on where do we want to be and where does God want us to be and what does He want us to do. And I know, like I said, it's hard to not get sucked into the things of this life and the mist that is appealing and around us. But I heard one illustration that I thought was kind of interesting and kind of shows how foolish we can all be sometimes. He says, let's say you go to a hotel room and you see this catalog and you see, man, this looks amazing. This is going to be so cool. And you get there and you're like, wait a minute. Like, there's some water stains. There's some scratches. They've got popcorn on the ceiling. Like, the carpet needs clean. And you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to fix this place up. And so you take all this time and you get this place all cleaned up and decked out. And you spend a whole week. And then you're ready to go and maybe enjoy this vacation. You're like, oh, well, shoot. Well, it's checkout time, so I guess I gotta go. I mean, all of us know like that would be absolutely ridiculous. But I think sometimes that's exactly what we do when we focus on the here and now, when we focus on the mist instead of focusing on what God wants us to. There's a philosopher, his name was Peter Kreeft. He says, in light of heaven, to the fear, what happens in this world, he'd be like, this would be like a millionaire fearing the loss of a penny. He says maybe even less than that. Maybe that a penny of his might actually get scratched. That's about how much sense it makes to flip out over the things of this world that in light of eternity don't really matter. And so I think it's important that we continue to run our race, to aim at finishing the race, and do not get deterred. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and we'll catch you all hopefully Sunday at the drive-in.